I just feel good. I feel light. I feel happy. You would have thought that I was taking little happy pills. You fast forward 30 days and I'm down 35 pounds, which I've lost weight before and had put it back on. I've never lost it that quickly or that easily. And so I'm thinking, this is crazy. I've got to tell somebody about it. I'm somebody who does not care if there's more or less carnivores in the world. Truly, it has no impact on my quality of life. If you are somebody who cares enough to look through and read comments, you can ruin your whole day. I didn't do carnivore thinking I'd stick to it. I didn't do carnivore to talk about it. It's kind of just the curse of carnivore. If you do it, you end up talking about it. You end up telling somebody. And at this point, I've told a lot of people.
I'll start here. So anyway, I've got Ray Hicks, also aka Carnivore Ray here from Tennessee. He is now just about a year into carnivore, a little over that. I've seen you managed to make it a year, which is a feat for many people. And you've been on social media on, I think, TikTok and also Instagram and maybe some other accounts, and have, interestingly, you have presented a very sort of nonchalant, take it or leave it, this is what carnivore is, you like it or you don't, I don't care type of thing, which I think has been, which is certainly appealed to a lot of people. So good on you for the success of that. I think I just saw in my feed this morning something about Newsweek interviewed you about your 1 year results or something. They reported on that or something like that. And my friend Phil Vadia was also quoted in that, I think. Anyway, Ray, I guess not to spoil the outcome here, but tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got, what made you decide to start doing this?
Yeah. So I started the Carnivore Diet August 1st, 2023. And I had heard about it through a podcast on Joe Rogan's podcast. It was Jordan Peterson talking about it. And my initial thoughts was, that's not healthy. That might be the dumbest thing that I've ever heard of. And just a little bit more research, saw you come up and saw you on his podcast as well. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, here's a couple revered men in this world. If they're talking about it, I don't think they'd talk about it flippantly. I'm going to give it a shot. Yeah, I had a lot of weight to lose, but for me, what I was really after is I heard that folks would experience a certain mental clarity and sharpness, and that it's helped others with depression and joint pain. And so brain fog, knee pain, and depression, those were things that I've struggled with for over a decade. And fast forward, I'm doing this, I'm thinking it'll take 3 days till I cheat. I have some ice cream or something, or I'm not going to do this for a long time. That third day, I felt amazing. Yeah, I crawl out of bed, and truly, I feel phenomenal. Zero knee pain, which sounds fake, but I used to not be able to lift my leg all the way up without some kind of sharp pain, and I had nothing. And so I'm thinking, okay, that's weird. So I do a squat and do a couple squats and still no pain. And I notice mentally, I just feel good. I feel light. I feel happy. And you would have thought that I was taking little happy pills. As somebody who has successfully taken antidepressants in the past, this put those to shame. This felt, wow, there's sunshine outside. This life is worth living. And I felt skinny. I wasn't. I'm probably 290 pounds day 3, starting at 295 day 1. I felt skinny, just the lack of bloat. And you fast forward 30 days and I'm down 35 pounds, which I've lost weight before. Yeah, I've lost a lot of weight before and had put it back on. I've never lost it that quickly or that easily. And so I'm thinking, this is crazy. I've got to tell somebody about this. And so I make a video, not thinking anything will come of it. And I post it on my personal Instagram, and I post it on TikTok, which it's just not a platform that I ever really used to post. And on TikTok, this video gets some million views, and a lot of people have questions. They hear 35 pounds lost a month. That's probably what drew them in. But I just started answering questions. And the more I did carnivore and the more I researched it, following you and a few others, I just learned a lot more about it. And so just kept answering questions, and my TikTok just started growing. And fast forward a few months, it dawns on me, hey, maybe I should share this on Instagram too. So I create a page and start sharing my personal journey and occasionally somebody else's testimony, but it's completely changed my life. Weight loss is great. I'm all for that. Of everything that I've experienced, that's at the bottom of the total. And what's even more incredible, in my opinion, is everything that I've experienced, which has changed my life. It's nothing compared to the thousands of other stories I've heard from others that have done a carnivore diet.
Now, let me just put a fine point on something, because you had mentioned you started 290 something, you lost a bunch of weight, you felt better. A lot of people will say that, yeah, you can lose weight on any diet, and any diet would have made your knee feel better. I think you said you lost weight before, and it didn't make the knee pain go away. Can you clarify that?
Yeah. So my heaviest was 315 pounds. I got all the way down to 212 following a whole foods diet, tracking my macros. And it came off in increments of 10, 15, 20 pounds. And I was in as good of shape as I am now, if not even better shape. I still had stabbing knee pain. I still struggled with depression. And so I've been the ideal weight for my body size before, and that knee pain was there. My theory is that as carnivore, it's a great way to rid your body of just excess inflammation. And so just following a meat-based diet for 3 days, that's my theory. I always thought it was early onset arthritis. It was gone within 3 days.
Yeah, so just to reiterate, you had lost weight before and got down to a healthy weight, and you still had knee pain, you still had depression. But when you lost weight with carnivore, those things went away, which is different. Because a lot of people, I hear that all the time. Anybody can lose weight. It doesn't matter how you lose it. It'll be the same result. I consistently seen that not, because I've seen people put on weight in carnivore and get healthier, and some of them are on their nerves to have weight. Need to. It's just not just down to weight loss itself. Now, recently, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw you reviewing, made you 1 year, and you're like, I'm going to add stuff back. I'm going to play with adding some fruit. I think you're maybe about to add vegetables if you haven't already done that. I haven't seen a video in a little while from you, but why, and what has been your experience with that?
Yeah, so let's start with why. I'm somebody who does not care if there's more or less carnivores in the world. Truly, it has no impact on my quality of life. I know it's worked really well for me. I've seen it work really well for countless others, but at the end of the day, whatever diet somebody thrives on, if they're truly physically, mentally thriving, I'm happy for them. I don't care what that looks like. That being said, how I always present the carnivore diet is, hey, statistically, you're probably not going to do this forever. You might do it for a month, you might do it for 3 months, it might be a few years. At some point, you're probably going to add other foods back in, just out of boredom. I wanted to walk through that experiment myself. Is there any one food or 2, 3 foods that make me feel significantly better or worse? And if you do that slowly, you can pinpoint, okay, this food makes me feel better or the same. I'm going to keep it in, whether it's a fruit or a vegetable. If you enjoy that fruit or a vegetable, that's great. Eat that. And if you still feel great, awesome. Keep it in. If you don't, or you experience a side effect or symptom that you're not particularly fond of, then hey, now I'm going to keep this out. Or at the minimum, if I'm ever really craving it, I know the repercussions, and I'm okay with it every once in a while. And so that's really my heart behind doing it. I started with avocado, kiwi, and honey. Tasted phenomenal. You haven't had sugar in over a year. I used to judge people that would say they're craving something sweet. I'm going to have some fruit. I'm thinking, okay, ding dong. Yeah, fruit's sweet. It's not dessert. Ice cream's dessert. No, I get it now. When you have a healthy palate, fruit is candy. And so didn't notice any upside. It tasted really good. Okay, so it was fun to eat the fruit. So I would say that was the upside. Same with the honey. As far as negatives go, there wasn't any huge negative of, okay, I've just got to keep this out forever. The unpleasant symptoms that I had with fruits and veggies is that I found I was hungrier more throughout the day. Not the end of the world, but as somebody who likes to just eat once or twice, it's liberating being able to do that and to be full throughout the day. Going from that to eating 3, 4, 5 times a day with snacks included gets annoying, cuts into your busy schedule. Apart from that, carnivore diet, strict carnivore diet. I'll go to the bathroom once a day, adding fruits and veggies in. And this is how I used to go to the bathroom as well. Now it's 3, 4, 5 times a day. And so it's not that my gut's all jacked up. I've seen people make that claim. This is the 3, 4, 5 times a day is very normal for how I used to be. All that said, the 2 things that I noticed that I really didn't like is I experienced a little bit of joint pain. Surprisingly, not my knee, which historically has been the issue. My wrists, you would have thought that I was doing some kind of funky exercise. It just, both of them just super sore. And then immune system. Before I ever did carnivore, I used to get sick every other month. I'd get this nasty sinus infection, nasty phlegm, body aches and chills. Fast forward, I do carnivore. I didn't get sick the entire year. The worst that I had was a little bit of excess clear snot. Okay. A month into doing this experiment, I get that old same sickness, or at least the same symptoms that I used to get every other month. And so that was the breaker for me. I still wanted to experiment with grains just to see how it made me feel, but I'm now back on strict carnivore. I want to get back to just feeling my absolute best. And what I'll likely do, because again, I'm not against other whole foods. Fruit really does taste good. It's very likely every once in a while I'm going to binge some fruit.
Yeah, fair enough. And I think you got to do it sustainably for long. And like you, I could care less how many people adopt the carnivore diet, other than the fact that I like seeing people get healthy. But I think more people should have the opportunity or the confidence to try it, because, and like, we're all kind of trailblazers in this regard. We're all considered those wacko weirdo guys, but all of a sudden we're putting up the results that are hard to deny, and whether you know it or not. I'm in the background, I'm helping to facilitate studies getting done. And so it's something I just like to see more healthy people. Well, I certainly care that there's more healthy than unhealthy people in the world, and how they get there is relevant in my view. But let me ask you, so obviously with the social media account growing, you've got several hundred thousand followers on, I think, on several accounts now, and that you get probably exposure you didn't have before. Obviously, you didn't probably do this with the intent of having that many followers, and that comes with some unique benefits and unique problems in some ways. Sometimes it's just a two-edged sword for sure. Social media, doing this I've been talking about this diet now for almost 7-8 years, and I've seen the tremendous growth it's shown, and so it's good to see more and more. I just had world's strongest man, Eddie Hall, contact me and to advise him on his diet, and he's doing that. And so we're getting more and more very, I guess I'd call them prominent people that are discussing the benefits they're getting there. When Newsweek approached you, how did that go? And was that, because I've been interviewed dozens, if not hundreds of times in different media outlets, and most of the time there's always this negative bent to it, or there's always going to be and we contacted a dietitian to tell us how stupid this was, or something like that. I don't know, how did that Newsweek thing evolve for you, and what was I haven't read it. I haven't had a chance to read it, but how did it turn out?
Yeah, Newsweek, they've reached out a couple times for different videos, but they've always been super kind. There's only ever been one time there's been a couple times, but a couple news outlets that the conversation usually goes how you would expect it to. If they're against it, they're trying to get you in a gotcha moment. And, I'm a pretty rational thinker, and I love to debate. So best of luck when that's somebody's goal. That being said, Newsweek's great. They were curious about my blood work this time around, asked me my thoughts and what made me do it, and was I happy with it. And they got, I'm forgetting his name, but he's a cardiac surgeon, I believe.
Yeah, Philip.
Yeah. Which of any surgeon that they could have picked, that was a great one for my case. Week's great. But you are correct in regards to, with the social media influence growing, there's definitely pros, but there's also cons. It takes a toll on you. If you are somebody who cares enough to look through and read comments, you can ruin your whole day. And that's something that I had to figure out in the last few months of, hey, take your own advice, don't give a rip. And maybe in the first few minutes of a video, sure, respond to people. But other than that, set it and forget it. Because it's tact.
Yeah, I think I don't care who you could do, the Dalai Lama, Mother Teresa, or God himself. You're on social media, you're going to have some people criticizing you. I don't care what it is. And I feel sorry for that. Not in a way, I don't always sorry for, but if you're a politician, literally half the country hates you just from the beginning. So at least with carnivore, you maybe got some vegans and some diehard cowards in, cowards out people that kind of put out the hate there, or people that feel threatened by the simplicity of this diet. I see a lot of people that have their own systems on how they get people to lose weight and get healthy, and it's very complicated. And I'm going to say, no, just eat some damn steak. And it's so easy that people get mad about that in many ways. Well, let's talk about your blood work, because I think I remember you sharing. I can't remember. I think triglycerides, maybe LDL high probably is typically what we see. But what were the results of your blood work?
Yeah,
I guess 1 year. Was 1 year as 1 year in, 1 year into the diet, right?
Correct. Yeah, I had a bunch of different blood work done, and everything came back phenomenal. I'll share the things that didn't come back good for the average eye. My creatinine was a little bit elevated. My HbA1c, this is something I got a lot of flack about. It was a 5.5, I believe, and I'm going to say 5.7 you're considered pre-diabetic, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
That became a huge issue on social media that, oh my goodness, see, he's borderline pre-diabetic, which is a funny way of saying I'm in normal range. But also, people will take anything out of context. Social media, it's so political. Coming from a family with a history of obesity and diabetes, I'm thrilled about a 5.5 HbA1c. Cholesterol, definitely high. And I remember talking to you over a live stream that you had predicted that, hey, I bet you when you initially started losing weight, cholesterol was probably pretty decent for the average recommended levels for cholesterol. And as you got leaner, it's probably increased. And I never had blood work done prior, but it was definitely elevated. HDL was phenomenal. I want to say that was 83. LDL, can't remember. I want to say that was 173. And then triglycerides were just C-reactive protein, also super low. I was thrilled with it.
Yeah, the lipids match the sort of lipid energy model that we could predict with that. And if you got leaner and leaner, probably your LDL would go higher and higher, probably. That's typically what we see. And we understand the mechanism by which that occurs. And then the question is it healthier or not? And the answer really is we don't know yet, but we're getting data that suggests that it might be. And so I think that's the way I look at it. That's what I tell people. Obviously when your knee hurts, it's hard to do things. And some people will say that now that you're more active, that's the reason for your success. And I know there's a lot of people. Like how active were you at the beginning? When did you start? I know because you're going to the gym there. I think you were. When did that change for you?
Yeah, I've always loved the gym. Yeah, strictly out of laziness. I didn't go the first few days. That wasn't because I was giving my body time to adjust. I just chose not to go to the gym. Day 3, feeling so good, I couldn't sit and do nothing. I was thrilled about mowing the lawn with a push mower. I was thrilled about going to the gym once or twice a day. Truly, I just love lifting weights. It's always been one of my favorite things since it was introduced to me at 14 years old.
Yeah, it's just, I think that's why I started with when I was 13. So I'm now almost 58, it's almost 45 years. And it's literally like breathing for me. If I'm not exercising, I just don't feel right. So it's been something that I've been doing forever and that type of stuff. So you've gotten more and more celebrity on social media, I suppose I can call it that. Have you had any interesting or weird opportunities? It's funny, the stuff I get in my inbox is just kind of bizarre stuff in some cases, but any of that stuff happening?
Definitely a lot of opportunities. I don't say yes to them maybe as often as I should, simply because this was never my goal to grow a social media page. I didn't do carnivore thinking I'd stick to it. I didn't do carnivore to talk about it. It's just the curse of carnivore. If you do it, you end up talking about it. You end up telling somebody. And at this point, I've told a lot of people. But the most interesting thing, I guess I would say, is Texas. This next month, I'll go to Texas for a bacon bash, which is like my understanding, it's like a county fair type deal, but it's centered around bacon. And Peterson Natural Farms. I'm a fan.
Yeah, good people.
Yeah. Neil Dudley. He's great. Anyways, they're bringing me out, and the whole purpose of this bacon bash is, all the proceeds go to kids with type 1 diabetes. And I just think that's so phenomenal. The amount of stories I've heard, the success stories I've heard from folks with type 2 or type 1 that either, hey, they no longer require insulin or it's drastically less insulin. I've seen people have diabetes most of their life, and it's something I wouldn't wish upon anybody. It truly does alter somebody's quality of life.
Yeah, undoubtedly. We've had some pretty interesting successes in the realm of, as you mentioned, type 1 and type 2, and you can see the type 1s are able to dramatically lower their insulin requirements, and the type 2s that draw on insulin, they very often come off it completely. And that was reflected in the little Harvard study in 2021, and just FYI, we are working on some intervention trials with diabetes, trying to get those off the ground. So hopefully that'll happen within the next year or so. And so that'll be a fun thing to see. Let's talk about negatives, because I think that's a lot of times we talk about the positive aspects of the carnivore diet, but what have been the negatives up to this point, either acutely when you started or even chronically?
Yeah, I would say more so in the beginning. I remember within the first day or two, first week, there were a couple times I found my heart palpitating. And I remember thinking, oh my God, they're right. I'm going to die. Like, I'm going to have a heart attack. And so start doing a little bit of research and, hey, maybe I should get better salt. Maybe I should increase the amount of salt that I'm consuming. Maybe I should invest in an electrolyte. And I did that, and it went away immediately. Apart from the heart palpitations, it was dizziness. And again, sodium, it fixed it for me. And so got intentional with electrolytes. The only other thing that I would say is once you experience how good you can actually feel, it's hard to be in any other state. It almost softens you. You expect to feel 100% all the time. That's not realistic. Whether it's, hey, oh, my joint pain's gone. I feel phenomenal 24/7. I always get a good night's rest. Now, every once in a while, lifting as often as I do, I might tweak something. Shoulder, got a little bit of pain, shoulder blade, whatever it be. It affects benching and it's little things like that. This sucks. It's turned me into a bit of a baby of just that high expectation of I'm going to feel 100% all the time. Other than that, I would say I'm lucky because I'm aware that there are folks that they have a difficult time transitioning into carnivore. I never had keto flu. I didn't have some crazy story. I've had to get through this, or I had to, on my 5th attempt, that's when it stuck. I felt great immediately. And I loved it. Loved the food. I still do. So I guess I'm lucky in that regard.
Let me ask you, as far as what you eat now, again, aside from adding in, experimenting with the fruit and the vegetables and very potentially the grains, what is a normal day typically, or normal week? Because a lot of people have to provide for us where the food kind of generally consistent for you.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of ground beef and eggs. I think those two foods, that's the biggest cheat code. If you're trying to be cost effective, ground beef and eggs, you can eat that and you'll feel phenomenal. And you'll save, I bet you, a ton of money compared to whatever diet you follow currently. The further I've gotten in carnivore and the more social media's grown, I've been fortunate enough to have meat just sent to me. And so I eat pretty darn good these days. I eat a lot of steak. I love chuck roast. Chuck roast is another one of those things that, hey, here's a way to be cost effective, eat a great tasting meal, and the prep takes nothing. You put a chuck roast in crock pot, turn it on, and walk away. It's truly that simple. You don't have to sear it. You don't have to, if you want to spice it up, sure. But a normal day, I'd say I might have 2 ribeye steaks, let's say 2 pounds of steak. And I might have 3 to 6 eggs on top of that. And then that'll tie me over till about, let's say 3 o'clock. And first meal's usually around 7 a.m. It's after I get home from the gym, and my appetite's ravenous at that point. Fast forward to 4 o'clock, I'm usually home by then. And I might have just a big bowl, pound of ground beef, and another 6 eggs or so. And that usually does it for me.
Yeah, and I think you told me last time we did a couple of Instagram lives together, TikTok lives, and I think you said you work either in finance or in the bank. I can't remember what your day-to-day job is. You're still doing that, right?
Correct. I'm a loan officer. I help people buy houses.
All right, gotcha. Dairy, I know butter's in there. Do you do any dairy, yogurts and stuff like that? What is your thought on dairy? What are your experience with that?
Butter, I'm a big butter guy. Love butter. I'm one of the weirdos that can eat it by itself. I never did cheese the full year of strict carnivore. Doing the experiment, I added it in. Tastes phenomenal. I've always loved cheese. And the only reason that I kept it out was simply because I love it that much. I can eat a whole Costco-sized block of cheese in a sitting. If there was an all-cheese diet that you could thrive on, I'd be Cheese Ray. Or
I won't be surprised that comes out. There'll be some guy that's Cheese Charlie or something like that. You'll probably see it on social media soon. I won't be surprised. It's funny because you're probably one of those guys, a Liver King guy that was obviously popular a few years. I think he's still fairly popular, but he lost he was tarnished a bit by his revelation. He was crushing a bunch of steroids, and that's why he looked like he did. But like anybody was surprised by that. But those guys are like, there's a guy that's, I'm the testicle king, and all he eats testicles every day. I'm like, this is so silly. That's one of the things when I started the carnivore diet back when it started to become popular with the book, and it started to the Guardian and New York Times, I was later in the New York Times, but these various media outlets. And they were always focused on people eating raw brains and testicles, and that was their that was what they tried to portray the carnivore diet as, because it was something that would honestly dissuade most people. I mean, if you told me I had to eat raw testicles and pig brains to be healthy, I'd say, F that, I ain't doing it. It just doesn't appeal to me. Or you get there and say, hey, you can eat ground beef and eggs, and all of a sudden people are, yeah, I can do that. It tastes good. It's not hard, and they don't want that. That's something that they, that was not what they wanted to portray the diet as. And I don't know, when I've been approached with several media, I did interviews for Vice, I've done a couple, and they always, there's not all of them, but some of them try to imply this political, it's only right-wing people that do this. Have you run into that? Have you seen that where people try to politicize this and try to get you to buy into that? I've always said, I don't care. I think healthy food is good for everybody. I don't care what your particular political beliefs are.
Yeah, it's such a strange concept to thinking that food has become political, but it definitely feels as though if you're on the carnivore diet, you must be some right-wing pig. And yeah, you're just, I've been called every name under the book, strictly because I talk about the carnivore diet. And I don't get it, because I'm with you too. I get it from the views aspect. People want to, hateful things attract a lot of attention. And those loud voices, people tend to be drawn to them. I'm with you though. Healthy people doesn't have to be a left or a right thing. It's just a human thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I think the more healthy people we have on both sides of or whatever, in the U.S. there's basically two sides, but the better the society's getting, more healthy people. And so let me ask you, because you obviously, I'm sure at some point in your life you had parents, and I don't hear you talk about them much, but is your family or the friends around you, what are their thoughts? Some people think you're just nuts. Some people are like, wow, look how well you've done, and maybe they're inspired to do something similar. What's been your experience with your local community?
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of blood family, but friends. It's been such an interesting story to see unfold from the beginning. Everybody, I'm talking everybody. I'm friends with a lot of healthcare professionals. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. It's Music City, but number one job employer here is healthcare. And so I got a lot of friends in that sphere, whether it's pharmaceutical or medical device sales, or they're doctors or nurses, whatever it be. And regularly, dude, that's not bad. That's bad. That's not good. You need to at least have some veggies, leafy greens. Just why not do both? And as I progressed, as I lost weight, apart from that, but just feeling good, just feeling truly good of how I'm talking, of how I feel, they don't even feel this good. And I'm friends with a bunch of studs. They're fit dudes, fit gals. They got temples for bodies. It transitioned from, you need to stop. This is unhealthy. I'm worried about you too. So if I wanted to try this, how would I go about it? And there was one person that was left. It was one of my buddy's wives, who is a nurse. And from the very beginning, very vocal, out of care, she cares about me, doesn't want me to go too soon, would tell me just how bad it was regularly. And it drove me nuts. Fast forward to the 1 year mark, I have my blood work done. And that was the point where she goes, okay. And so it's funny to watch people's reactions. And to be fair, I completely empathize with anybody who hears about a carnivore diet and goes, that's not healthy. I think that's a rational response considering all the information we're getting.
Yeah, it's partly a product of how society functions these days. Like I said, if I were to discuss a carnivore diet in rural Mongolia, people are like, yeah, that's Tuesday. It would not be at news, but we live in a place where we go to the grocery store and there's 50,000 ingredients on the shelf, and most of them are garbage, but we're so conditioned to eat them, and we're even told they're necessary. We got to eat all this fiber and vegetables and fruits. And it's interesting. If you look at the data over the last 50 years, our fruit and vegetable consumption has gone up significantly over the last 50 years. And it's up 20% over what it was 30, 40 years ago. And yet, disease rates are higher, and our meat consumption, at least red meat consumption, is down dramatically over the last 50 years. And yet, so it's interesting that at least associations, and again, that's not necessarily the be all end all. There's a lot of problems with associations, but it's just hard to say that this is harming people. And again, you are not alone. I'm not alone. There are thousands upon thousands of people all saying the same thing. Hey, I got the healthiest I've been in 10 years, 20 years, 30, 40, 50 years, got off lifelong medications, which, it just doesn't normally happen. For anybody, people say, oh, I don't hear about this stuff on people going on Weight Watchers. I just don't hear people like, I went on Weight Watchers and now I'm off all my meds and my arthritis has reversed. That's just not what I've typically seen. Maybe a few episodes of that, but not to the extent that we're seeing with this particular diet. You made it a year. I remember when I made it a year, my wife was like, how long are you going to do it for? And I was like, I don't know, just keep going. Now it's it. Now I'm like 8 years into it and still here, still doing fine and enjoying it. So, let me ask you, first time somebody sent you some meat, because that's cool. Because I'm fully transparent. I get a lot of free meat sent to me. Hell yeah, I'm going to eat it. It's good. And I don't feel bad about it because I actually believe it. This is a good product. I don't, sometimes somebody sends me some goofy supplement. Oh, I'm like, I'm interested. I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to try to convince people it's some magical thing. But somebody says to me steak, man, I'm like, one, I like it because these ranchers, they're hardworking people that have been unnecessarily vilified. And so I'll say, hey, I got my steak from, I don't know, Carnivore Cup, Benefit, whatever the companies that sometimes send me this stuff. And so who was the first ones to reach out for you and how did that feel? I was like, can we send you some free beef from free steaks? I'm sure it's hell yeah, send me some of that. I don't know. How did that go?
Yeah. This is bad, but I'm not even sure who the first one was. Let's say it's Diamond H Ranch. Okay. They're based out of Missouri, I believe. And husband and wife that run this small farm. They're really big on regenerative farming, which I'm all for because the meat industry, something else I'll stand on. It's not blameless. It's not innocent. The meat industry definitely has its absolute flaws. And so when you meet those ranchers that they're so intentional with, okay, we're doing this ethically and we're doing this sustainably. And we're big on both the health of our animals and the environment. Yeah, I'm all for that. I think that's incredible. And so they reached out to me and I shared a post and I think they jumped from a few hundred followers to, I think it was, they got over 1,000 or it was a few thousand or something like that. They were so thrilled about that. They had 10 new orders come in. They sent me this cutting board, super nice cutting board. And it made such an impact on their life. That's one of the reasons that I even talk about the carnivore diet, not just a farm or a ranch or anything like that, but the impact that I see it has on people's lives. When you hear stories of people that have suffered physically or mentally for decades and nothing's been able to help them, or they're going broke buying XYZ pharmaceutical, or you've got moms and dads telling you, hey, I feel like a better parent. I come home and I want to spend time with my family, or I don't feel like I got to wring my kid's neck or kick the dog. They're able to better regulate their emotions. I hear stuff like that and I go, that's why I talk about it. That's why I've continued to talk about it. Forget user 1179 that says I'm an idiot and that I should not be talking about this. This is why I do this. So bring on the hate. I'll take it on as long as I keep hearing success stories like that. But I'm with you. Free steak, sign me up. Steak or chuck roast, even ground beef. You send me some good ground beef and eggs. It's bread and butter to me.
Yeah, I've had some feedback from a lot of the ranchers. Like I'll post something, I'll sell $3,000 worth of meat on a one-year post. So I'm like, yeah, I'm happy to do that. I'm obviously happy to eat it. But again, we have to realize that a lot of people don't realize this, and a lot of people are up in arms about the fact that the Netherlands were going to close 3,000 farms, right? They're like, oh my God, we're attacking the farmers. But in the United States, around 20,000 every year go out of business. In the 1970s, we had something like 1.3 million cattle ranchers. We're down to 600,000 now. So we've lost something like 700,000 cattle ranches in the last 50 years. And those numbers continue. And it's adding a lot. There's a high rate of suicide among farmers and ranchers because it's such a challenging job. And these are the people that are feeding us. And without them, we'd be eating cat. And like we see the Haitians, they talk about the Haitians eating cats and eating them. That's what would happen. If we lost our capacity to produce food or have high quality nutrition like the beef we have, I guarantee people out there eating squirrels and cats and anything that moves would be gone. I mean, all the deer would be gone, all the elk would be gone, all the wild pigs in Texas would be eaten up, and then they'd start on the neighborhood cats and dogs. That's just the way it is. We eat animals, and either we're going to produce it in a sustainable way, or we're going to eat every wild animal on the planet because that's how many people we have. Anyway, do you have any thoughts on the future as far as, like I said, I don't know that I'm going to be carnivore. I just tell people, I don't know. I'll see what happens. I'm not going to say this is what I'll do the rest of my life. As long as it's working for me, I'm not, and I enjoy it, I'll continue to do it. But do you have any thoughts of, because again, as your social media account grows, you have more opportunities. You could say, maybe I can do this instead of working at the bank. I don't know. Are you thinking about any of that type of stuff?
Thought about it for a good 2 weeks. My career as a loan officer, it's very fulfilling. You get to take a very stressful process and just simplify. You get to be a part of one of the largest investments that most Americans will ever make, buying a house. And you get to experience the joy of that with them. It's very fulfilling. Going back to how fulfilling this has been, talking about the Carnivore Diet, hearing people tell me how it's changed their life physically and mentally, it puts being a loan officer to shame. And like any industry, you can come across ungrateful individuals or just people that you go, is this worth a buck? Should I be working with you? Should I fire you as a client? I thought for a good 2 weeks about quitting my career and just doing social media. And it just dawned on me that I'm in a season of life. There's no reason I can't do both. I'm not married. I don't have kids. I'm a bachelor and my life's very simple. There'll come a day where that changes. And that's likely when I would just dive into full social media. Because it's something I could do right now. But again, it wasn't my goal initially. It just happened. Now I'm trying to steward it the best that I can. I'm not the person that's out here trying to make as much money on social media as possible. That's why I turn 99% of the people away of, hey, no thank you, I'm not interested. It's because I don't believe in it. I've got to really believe in something if you're going to hear me talk about it. And yeah, that day will come, but it's not here yet.
Yeah, like I said, I get all these sort of supplement. Hey, we think we reviewed your social media account. We think you'd really be a great fit for our plant-based something. I'm like, what do you don't even know what I talk about. So it's just funny, all this stuff that they're sending you, and it's like the Nigerian prince asking for money. It's such a scam. Oh, so your hat, don't give a rip. That seems to be your catchphrase. I'm sure that's just part of your normal lingo. And it's obviously it's taken off a little bit for you. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, you're not the only guy that says don't give a rip, but I've probably popularized it more so than it's not. I don't know if that's local to Tennessee or local to the South or where it might be. I've heard that phrase before, obviously, but you certainly
I've said it. Yeah, I don't give a rip since I was a kid, and for the longest time, I could not tell you where it came from. Nobody ever cared that I said I don't give a rip. Nobody ever heard that in person and went, "That's cool. I'm going to start using it." I just nonchalantly used it in my video. What it means is I don't give an F. It's just a kinder way of saying it without being overly offensive to all those around you. It's just something I've always said. I saw a video of Crocodile Hunter, Steve Irwin, and this is a video from probably early 2000s where he's talking about his passion for the planet and how he's going to save the planet, all this stuff. And he goes, I don't give a rip. And I saw that video and I'm thinking that has to be where I first heard it. Because I don't know anybody else that says it in my life, and it's not some popular phrase on TV or something like that. I definitely didn't come up with it, but if I had to make an educated guess, Crocodile Hunter, the legend, I'm thinking that's where it stemmed from. But I love it because it does get the point across, again, without being overly offensive. I like to communicate well, and this is a big part of my vocabulary when I'm talking to ding-dongs out there.
Yeah, I know a few of them. I would assume they're probably similar to what I experienced. The vast majority of what I see is I get a very positive. People are very thankful for the information I've shared with them. They dramatically improve their life. There is a small percentage that are either jealous or angry, or you get the ideological kind of wacko vegans that are, of course, spout their nonsense. And yeah, I'm actually thankful that they're on my page, because then they're not actually doing anything. They're not accomplishing anything. They're on my social media and spending time there. They're not over there influencing some 15-year-old's, schoolgirl. Those are the typical people that they prey upon. Has your experience been similar as far as mostly positive? I think you said so, but
the vast majority, it's positive. I guess it'll come in waves. I guess it depends on how much I pay attention, because as many quote unquote fans as I have out there, I've probably got infinitely more haters. However, I'll get recognized, let's say 2-3 times a day, whether I'm traveling or somewhere in Nashville, Tennessee, or are you that carnivore guy? Hey, great to meet you. Yeah, I've never had somebody say, are you that carnivore guy? I think what you talk about is dumb. It's always, dude, love your content, love what you're saying. I don't do it. I think it's super interesting, or it's gotten me eating more meat, or yeah, I did it for 3 months. It healed this. And so the internet, it's so loud. You can say almost anything you want without any repercussions. And so that's something that I remind myself, is that most of the hate that I do get, it's always from an account that is private or doesn't have any followers, or it's a bot, or it's all that. But even if the tide did switch, because I have seen some carnivore content creators that you look at their comments, and I can confidently say the majority of their feedback is hate. I would say it's interesting watching different platforms. So the most prominent platforms I have would be TikTok and Instagram. Facebook's growing too. It exists. But TikTok, that I get infinite hate. It's so easy for somebody to duet your video and give their own spin, or give their thoughts. And that's one of those platforms that kind of just look at for the first 2 minutes and respond to things and then forget about it. Instagram, unless I'm oblivious to it, I feel like I get a lot of love on Instagram. And then Facebook, and maybe this is a generational thing, doing this carnivore experiment. TikTok interpret it as, see, carnivore's bad. He's going back to fruits and veggies, never do carnivore. Instagram interpreted it as, oh, this is really interesting, excited to see what comes of this. And Facebook, it was, this is so dumb, those are bad, those are toxic foods, go back to strict carnivore. And everybody's got an opinion, but it's all in all, sure, it's majority of it's positive, but maybe that's just the lens that I'm looking through.
Yeah, I think Mike Tyson had something to say about the internet. There's a lot of people that would normally get punched in the face to yap up and in my interactions, I often get recognized. My reports out of town traveling, people come up to me, and it's always 100% of the time they're very positive. And I'm happy to talk to people. And it may be that I'm 6'5", 260 pounds, and people aren't going to talk bad stuff to you because they're worried that I'm not that mentally stable. I don't know. I'm actually a nice guy. But yeah, I've had a few interactions with beings in real life, and it's always been very cordial and pleasant. And again, maybe for the same reasons, but you find that most people that are angry or negative rarely will do something in real life, and probably I would imagine because I've been the evil face of carnivore for a number of years, in the mind of many vegan activists. That I'm sure when I've gone to things like Trader Joe's or some of these other places, they often frequently recognize and just no one's said anything. I think I've seen somebody give me like a side eye, like evil glare, but no one's ever actually come up to me and said, "Hey, you're an asshole," or "Why are you? We hate you," or something. I've never seen that yet. Maybe one day. I guess if you get into politics, then you can guarantee that. I have no desire to do that. I don't know who wants to go in politics because it's such a. I guess there's reasons for it, and I guess we'd rather have good people in politics than the criminals and crooks that we typically. Well, let's see what else. Got a couple of minutes here left. So you've done the fruit experiment. You said, okay, it tastes good. Yeah, and I agree. I like sweet things. I was a guy that loved dessert, man. I still think stuff tastes good. I just don't want it, which is nice. It's nice to be free of that. And I do agree with you that appetite is changed dramatically by the addition of carbohydrate intended foods back in the day. You just want to eat more. And I think that's what, for good or bad, if you're trying to gain weight, yeah, it helps. If you're trying not to gain weight, then it can sometimes be problematic for many people. But you said grain. I couldn't remember. You said you have added the grains, or you're thinking about it, or you're not going to do that. I suspect the answer to that is going to be you won't feel not as good, but we'll see.
That's my theory as well. Once I caught the bug or the sickness that I used to have frequently, that was my deciding factor of, all right, I'm calling in the towel, throwing in the towel for this experiment. And that's not to say that I won't ever do it down the road, just to see. My theory, and maybe it takes time, maybe it takes longer than a month of experimenting, but I'm thinking that would be the thing that maybe that's what brings my knee pain back, my chronic knee pain, or hey, mentally I just don't feel stable. Just a theory. It could be wrong, but that would be my guess. It's not something I'm going to do right now, though. Right now, I'm strict carnivore. It's just meat, eggs, and seafood. Let
me ask you, when you said you cycled your weight a few times over the years, you went up to 315 and dropped back down to 220 or whatever. Now you're somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yep.
Because there's often a regression to the mean that given, do you anticipate you're going to get back up to the high 200s again, or do you think that's not going to happen? Obviously, it's hard to predict the future, but do you feel like, hey, I figured it out now that I'm not going to, because I can see people using carnivore, and to be honest, most people who do a carnivore diet do not remain strict for the rest of their lives. Most people end up mostly carnivore with a little bit of things in there, but it still is enough to keep them on the straight and narrow. They can always cycle it back and forth. I mean, what is your confidence level if you can maintain this? Because you did it before and you gained it all back. So what are your thoughts on that now?
That's a great question. Statistically, I would be a fool to not think that's a possibility. I forget the exact statistic, but those that lose an ample amount of weight, there's a good chance they're going to put it back on, as I have already done once prior. I would say the thing that's going for me this time around is having somewhat of an influence online that puts on a little pressure of, even through this fruit and veggie experiment, I've had people comment and looks like you're getting a little pudgy again. And to be fair, I went from 210 to 215, and I did feel just thicker. I feel like my abs weren't showing as much as they did, or wasn't as naturally vascular without a pump. A little bit more accountability to stay the course this time. I would also say, now that I've gotten a taste of feeling this good physically and mentally, it would take a lot to put me back into old eating habits.
Yeah, let me just comparing the two, because you lost the other time, counting calories, and there's more effort, I think. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong. Does it feel effortless versus a lot of effort to maintain this? Or maybe I don't know the words in your mouth. Can you describe the difficulty of the two different strategies?
Yeah. I am one of those people that would say, hey, you can lose weight doing just about any single diet that you wanted to. Just stick to it, and if you work out, of course, it's going to help. Carnivore specifically, it is the easiest time I've ever had on any kind of diet. Truly, it's food that I enjoy. It's not something that I have to plan for. You can meal prep if you want to, but even that, I used to spend hours on a Sunday meal prepping for the week, and that'd last me till 3-4 days in the week. I got to meal prep a whole bunch again come Wednesday, Thursday. Takes up so much of your time, weighing out every single food and tracking and labeling. It drives me nuts. The time back in life that carnivore gives you, it's unmatched. It's effortlessly, I would say a large majority of people that I've come across that have done carnivore to lose weight, a lot of them can do it without even thinking about it. There are those people that, hey, they still have a bottomless pit for a stomach, and they can just eat and eat, and hey, I'm gaining weight on carnivore. Okay, let's talk about it. What are you eating? Yeah, but the vast majority of people, I would say, if they're trying to lose weight, this is one of the easiest cheat codes in life that they could do without thinking twice about how much or what time of day they're eating.
Yeah, I think that's right. Ray, we're about out of time. So share your social media handles. So it's Carnivore Ray on, I assume you consistently got the same name across accounts, or maybe not. Tell me where you're at.
Carnivore Ray, any of the social media platforms.
Carnivore Ray. All right, man. Well, congratulations and continued success. I'm sure we'll talk again. Hopefully get to meet in real life at one point. I know. I'm trying to think the Mexico, I'll be in Tennessee. I don't know. But anyway, I'm sure we'll come across each other and keep up good work and keep up putting out the great content, because I think it's inspiring lots of people. Good luck. Keep getting, hope more people send you stuff too, man.